My name is Anya Kornhauser. I come from Poland, from the Polish Ukraine. As far as anti-Semitism is concerned, I come from the worst part of the world. I was a young girl. I'm a grandmother now. I may look to you like any other grandmother, but I'm not. I'm different. I'm different because deep down, I have a story that presses at my heart. My story has pain. And I'd like to share my story with you. I am a Holocaust survivor, but not a concentration camp one. In comparison, I feel very lucky that I did not go through the shocking horrors of the concentration camps. As we all know, the majority of the Gentile world stood by and did nothing when Nazi Germany was exterminating the Jews during World War II. But I am living proof of a very small percentage of some wonderful human beings, real Christians, who endangered their lives to save mine. Although very few in numbers, nevertheless, there were some. When the Second World War started in 1939, I was 14 years old. Poland was divided in half between Germany and the Soviet Union. We were lucky to be in the Russian sector. My parents were business people, and I had two brothers and one sister. In 1940, my older brother was drafted into the Russian army, and I never saw him again. June 22nd, 1941, Germany attacked Russia without a warning. The Ukraine was never an independent country. In Russia, it was a republic. We had lived with the Russians and with the Poles, went to school with them, grown up with them, but nevertheless, to them, we are always foreigners. And here comes Hitler and offers them an independent Ukraine for their collaboration to help them with the Jewish problem. They're only too happy to oblige. August 4th, 1941, we were told to take only what we can carry. That was the first lie, and it was the first akция, we called it. They herded us up in the square. The sick were taken out of stretchers from the hospitals. And then we were told to leave everything and start marching in the middle of the street because Jewish people were not allowed to walk on the sidewalk. Then we noticed young Ukrainian men with shovels on their shoulders singing. When we came to a big field, there was a selection. The sick and the old to one side, the young and the children to another. We couldn't find my father. I urged my mother to go to the sick. Maybe they wouldn't send her to work. I wanted to spare her. She didn't want to go, but she finally went. When my sister noticed that my mother wasn't there, she started to scold me, "Why did you let her go?" And my sister can scold. So to get away from her, I went to the selection line, limping and bending down, pretending to be a cripple, hoping to go to the sick, to my mother. And this young assessment straightened me up, and he said, "You are young, you can work, and did not allow me to go to the sick. As it turned out, the old and the sick were held back, and the young and the children were sent home. When we came home, we found my father. He was hiding. At night, we heard shots. At midnight, there was a knock on the window. My mother walked in with her long hair down and all a slip on her body. She couldn't talk. She embraced my father for a long time. In the morning, she told us what happened. When we left, the Ukrainians dug graves to put 10 in one. They set them in lines. One person backed up behind the next person as they killed them and buried them while the ground was still moving. My mother was in one of the last two graves. Her sister and brother were with her. Suddenly, my aunt said to my mother, "Pearl, get up. They're calling us." My mother said, "I don't want to see." When she finally got up, there was an assessment standing up in a jeep calling them. He asked them, "Do you believe in God?" And when they said yes, he let them go. But the 3 men from the 2 graves were held back and shot. And one of them was my uncle, my mother's brother. That was the first akция, we called it. The second akция was a few months later. With the help of the Ukrainian collaborators, they rounded up all the young people, put them on trucks, took them out of the city, killed them, and buried them in one big mass grave. The rest were told to go home. We were hiding. My mother felt very guilty that most of her friends and relatives had no more children, and she still had 2 daughters. My mother felt very bad and afraid that I did not have a working permit. If you didn't have a working permit, you didn't get any bread, and they might take you away. So one day, I went to the Judenrat to see if there was any work available. The Judenrat is a council of elders that was elected to run the ghetto. I saw a few of my friends signing up to go to an estate to pick hops 12 kilometers from our city. So I too signed up. We worked there from sunrise to sundown, eating only potato soup. Well, I got very sick with dysentery and crippled with cramps. I couldn't work. They sent me back to the ghetto. And I'm the only one of the 150 workers that survived. And sometimes I ask myself, why me? In October 1942, that was the 3rd and last akcja. People started to build hiding places, getting ready, a double floor, a double wall. We were supposed to be in a certain place at noon.